All right, yeah, let's do it.
Hello, gentlemen. Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Sav, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
You got big plans this weekend. We've been hearing
He's got
about
a
them.
third date coming up.
Third
Hey,
date.
why y'all doing that on the podcast? Then people are gonna be looking back, asking me questions. There's no date. I don't know what you're talking about.
No
Zero
dates.
date.
A
Zero
friend of
date.
mine,
No
He's got
date.
a date with Tekken.
a friend of mine is having a birthday thing later today, and they're like, I think they're
Hell
gonna
yeah.
watch Dune or something.
What?
Is Dune
It's
2
not out yet.
Next weekend.
Oh, so we're watching Dune 1, which I'm gonna probably miss some of the beginning of that because we're doing that after we finish recording. So I want to catch Dune because I haven't seen Dune, but I've heard nothing but good things. I know I would like.
You're
Dune,
not gonna
I just
like it.
haven't- You shut
What?
your mouth.
You think he wouldn't like it?
Not gonna like it.
Wes, when they told me that the book has so much lore that it's like reading its own history book, I knew that I would like Dune.
Oh, okay.
I know
don't
more about Westeros history than I know about like certain actual real
history.
country's history. And I'm a history nerd, or I wouldn't say more, but like I know too much about Westeros history, knowing I'm a history nerd. I can recite too many facts from both. Like, you want to talk about World War II history or Black American history and Reconstruction? I got you. You want to talk about the Dance of Dragons and the Targaryen Civil War? I also got you. We'll add some Dune. We can talk about both Civil Wars, you know? We could talk about how Rhaenyra's side, I was rocking with them, and how, you know, the Southerners were wrong. You want to talk Civil Wars? Holla at your boy. Hopefully Dune engages me in a similar way so I can just, well, actually...
When someone brings up the Civil War in conversation, Savannah's like, American, Marvel, or Targaryen?
I feel seen.
I'm fluent in all three.
Yeah, like what's cracking?
Pick your poison. Dealer's choice.
Look, we can talk the Galactic Civil War.
Oh my god.
Which one? They had like 3 of them joints. You heard me?
We found our people. All right. So this episode, we decided we would do a little bit of a different thing. It's kind of a little bit of a play on our highbrow, Hi Brian, but we're gonna focus in on.
This is not a play on highbrow, Hi Brian. It is highbrow.
Oh no,
Hi,
are we
Brian.
we're gonna do 20 minutes of you in that voice? I might have to, step out for a minute and just blow my nose just to get a break.
You might need to go get a brain.
So we're going to talk about, well, really Brian is going to talk about Christopher Nolan, the auteur, the director, the fan of the Fast and the Furious movies, who recommends that you see Tokyo Drift first. So, Brian,
He's not wrong.
Why don't you start it off?
It's not an erroneous statement.
You started this segment by saying Christopher Nolan is a liar. So, Brian,
it's a mendacious individual.
Yeah,
Christopher Nolan.
Mendacity is not approved here. Neither is duplicity, but perhaps it's going to be a good trait here.
And
Brian,
he is rife with both, my friends.
Let's go. Highbrow.
I don't know how long I can continue this voice for highbrow, Hi Brian. Atop my perch of snobiety. Okay, I'm gonna give it up. That's too much.
That was it?
I'm sorry.
You lasted like 34 seconds.
I lack commitment. Anybody that knows me, that is very true. I'm gonna take a moment.
Be happy with what you got.
Thank you, Savan. Thank you. But on today's segment of Highbrow, Hi Brian, it's been a while since we've done one of these, and I want to come back swinging and talk about the auteur that is Christopher Nolan. I know there are haters out there, but hate you shall not, because this man is quite good. He brings people back to the movie theater, for one thing. And he's known for a lot of things, right? There's a reason why his movies, his films generate such excitement amongst the fanboys, myself included. I mean, what do you guys know him for? Like, let's start with that.
Bunch
like,
of
what
boring,
are
pretentious
his hallmarks?
Shit. Batman. Batman. That's the only Christopher Nolan movie I've seen is Batman.
I pity your soul. Wes,
what
are some of his hallmarks?
For me, it's definitely
in terms of storytelling. Like,
yeah.
What are the things that he utilizes the most?
He uses IMAX cameras. He's very much in love with that IMAX format and the rich, large format film technique, which I don't know why he's necessarily so hung up on it, but he feels like it
'Cause
adds
it's gorgeous.
a
Wesley.
yeah,
It's
it
gorgeous.
adds a layer of
Radiant.
texture to his films. I think he's to me, he's someone who's like very interested in playing with time and perception. And what's not necessarily what's real, but he's interested in playing with just like how do we perceive the world, how do we navigate it, and what do we do in moments of maybe danger or crisis, or and these are classic things. Not the only director who gravitates towards these ideas. um when I'm thinking of Inception, he wants the viewer to be questioning all the time, like what's happening here, and like how do the rules work in this world, and he lays them out, and then he lets his characters sort of use those to their advantage or disadvantage in some cases. in in the Dark Knight, he creates scenarios that are unwinnable, and how do we as humanity and people in society manage in pretty gruesome circumstances. Same with Dunkirk, right? Like what is the response to an unwinnable situation in a situation where you feel powerless, right? So he's constantly asking questions about how do you overcome maybe the challenge in front of you. And I don't know, I mean, I think that's what it is, and sometimes it's about like the neurosity isn't a word. What is it? You know what I'm trying to say?
Nirvana? No, I don't know what you're trying to
like
say. You're talking about
neuroses,
George Costanza, the neuroses.
the neuroses that we sometimes carry within ourselves, and that can play out in different ways, and can maybe get in the way of what you're trying to do, but may also be the reason why you're able to do what you're able to do. And he's good, I think, at like elucidating those like weird human quirks that we have that just like show up out of the blue and really affect how we behave. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's where Christopher Nolan is. I think the thing that I also think about him is it's very dialogue heavy. There's a lot of like talking that happens in Christopher Nolan movies that I think is sometimes overdone.
Fair points. I think all of those are accurate, right? You got, his obsession with large format film. You got his non-linear storytelling and messing around with time and how time affects the stories. You got kind of like the cynicism of like unwinnable situations, neurotic characters, heavy dialogue. A lot of times there's also inaudible dialogue. That's a big thing.
People don't like that about him.
Like Bane with a mask on.
I
didn't have a problem with that. I could understand him well enough.
His punishment must be more severe. So like those are all very much part of his palette as an artiste. And take it or leave it, right? But
also forgot boring.
Dude,
who needs ZQL or melatonin?
You are projecting.
Who needs that when you could put on a Christopher Nolan movie? One time I had some bad insomnia. I couldn't sleep. Maybe I had too much tea after playing some Apex West, and I said, "Man, what should I do?" I was like, "Ooh, I should put on like Oppenheimer or a good Christopher Nolan movie."
What a hater!
5 minutes.
What? Turn your brain
minutes.
on.
5 minutes, Brian. I was on that couch, knocked out, drooling.
Turn your brain on. Let it soak in the goodness, so you can level up. And that's what this segment is about. I'm gonna help everybody level up how they can appreciate some of the storytelling even more, because I think that there's an element in all of his stories that doesn't get talked about enough, which I think is truly fascinating. And that's the idea that Christopher Nolan is a liar. He's deceitful. And in all of his stories, there is a core lie that is at the heart of them. And I think that is a very interesting idea. So, Wes, you mentioned Inception. Do you remember what the plot of Inception was?
I kind of do. Yeah, they're they've got to do a heist. They're trying to figure things out, and then they can somehow get into these different levels of consciousness by being in other people's like daydreams or their dreams. but they have to set the stage in that person's mind first, so that that person thinks about and dreams about the thing that they want them to dream about, in order for them to enter that dream state and utilize that setting, or that whatever is happening in that particular like level, right, in their dream state, to access what they need, which might be a piece of information or an understanding or something, a secret that they're guarding, and they're doing it as kind of espionage here. But also it's dangerous, because if they get stuck in a level or they die in a level, they actually die in the real world as well.
Wow, that's good. Do you have the Wikipedia entry open or
I
something?
don't, but see, I do remember things sometimes.
So a key thing about that, right? It's like
That was really impressive, Wes. Good job.
Yeah, that was better than I thought you'd do.
I'm proud of you. No
Way to
surprises.
hop over the low bar.
The bar's in hell, but he's in purgatory.
So, like, a key thing about Inception, right, is that they are invading people's dreams, and they're trying to extract secrets from people, but they are also incepting, right? And like, do you remember like when that was really part of our like national vocabulary?
It was,
People were like,
yeah.
oh, you're like trying to incept me, right? Because what they do in order to extract those secrets, they need to implant something in somebody's brain so that that person believes it to be true, and that thing is a lie, right? So in Inception, they are trying to put in Cillian Murphy's mind that his father actually loved him, and so that can set off a chain of events so that he will do something for the benefit of his corporate opponents, right? They want Cillian Murphy to break up the company, believing that his dad loved him and wanted him to do that, and like gives him his blessing to do that, right? So they're feeding him this lie that transforms into reality. And so that is a key theme that happens throughout almost all of Christopher Nolan's movies, is that there is a fabrication, a fiction being told that ultimately changes reality, that changes facts, right? And it's the thing that the characters embrace as their truth, right? And so it's this idea that truth can come from fiction. So I'm gonna take us back. Like, people know Inception pretty well. I think it all actually starts with his first indie movie that he ever made that I don't think very many people have seen. It's called Following, which I think came out in the 90s. And it's a movie that he actually made with his collaborators on weekends, right? They were like working as like corporate commercial stooges, right? They're like, you know, they would go be hired as video makers for companies and stuff, and then use that money on the weekends to then film this movie. I think it probably took over the course of 2 years to make. But anyway, the key thing in Following is that it's about a down on his luck writer in London who, because he has such writer's block, he can't get anything down on the page. He starts following people at cafes, right? Like, he'll pick a person on the street or at a cafe, and he'll follow them for the entire day. And he'll just like go kind of stalk this person. And then one day he happens to follow another dude who is breaking into people's homes. And the writer has such commitment to follow this guy that he gets embroiled in the thieves, in the homebreakers world, embroiled in that world. But here's the thing. The thief, who's caught up in some problems, uses this guy. He ends up meeting the writer, right? And realizes that he's being followed. He uses that guy to swap places with him. I'm totally spoiling the movie right now, by the way. So he's basically using that guy as him, right? So that he can get away from the mobsters that are after this thief, right? And so it's this idea that, like, here's the writer, the guy that is coming up with fake stories, becoming a fake version of the thief, and then really being treated as the thief to his detriment. And that is this core idea of, well, reality can get twisted when lies are afoot. And then that carries over into maybe arguably one of Christopher Nolan's greatest movies, Memento, the thing that brought him a lot of fame. Wes, do you remember Memento?
I only remember not the premise, but the mechanic of it, which was every day the main character, he lost his memory,
Yeah.
basically, right? He couldn't remember what happened. So he's trying. I know he was just like trying to figure something out, and he would write notes to himself to try and tell himself from his past self, this is what you're doing, this is why you're doing it, and so
Totally.
it's like 50 First Dates, but different.
Yeah. He can't form any like new long-term memories or anything. So he doesn't know what was happening. He doesn't know what was happening, so he's got to leave notes for himself about what's going on
Like 50
in his
First
day.
Dates.
Yeah,
you
totally.
did. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
50
exactly
First
like
Dates.
that.
Like 50 First Dates, but serious. Okay. This
But-
would be worth watching.
Yo, Savon, you
it
will
is
love
worth
this
watching.
movie. You
Yeah.
will love it. I guarantee you won't find this boring. So like in Memento, not only can he not remember anything, but he's chasing the killer of his wife. He wants to enact revenge on his wife's killer. Sorry, Savon, I'm going to spoil this.
No,
this
cool.
this movie is like 25 years old. I'm going to spoil this.
It's past the point of spoilage.
It's there's when somebody has faulty memory, people can mess with that person, right? So the people in his orbit are actively
Let me tell you, I know.
yeah, they're actively telling him lies about what he's up to and what he's doing, and so he takes those as facts, right? Maybe he has a little second guessing, but he's still acting on those things. And ultimately, we find at the end of the movie who's doing the biggest lying to him is not just those people around him, but it's himself. He's telling himself his own lies.
Oh no.
He's tattooing messages on his own body that are inaccurate
To throw
so that
himself
he
off his
can
own
condition
trail?
his future self to do some ill stuff.
Oh.
So again, it's this
Do I need
idea
to
that the
take notes while I
lie.
watch this movie? Do I need to like take notes while I'm watching this movie, or can I sit down
No.
with like a bag
No,
of
you could
cookies?
totally consume it. Savon, you have a very large brain that is very capable of a lot of things. And I think you are more than capable of handling Memento.
Wow,
Okay.
maybe Brian's a teacher after all.
Yeah, he didn't gas me out. He made me believe in myself. Look, he didn't
Hell
Jedi
yeah.
mind trick me. You're a big brain, Savon. You're smart. You can handle
You can
this
do
movie.
this.
Yeah,
I believe in you.
yeah. My son didn't gas me. My son didn't Jedi mind trick me into watching a Christopher Nolan movie. Ain't this some shit? Good stuff.
Yo, and then so all this carries over into the Dark Knight trilogy.
What?
And so like Batman Begins, right? It's not even the Dark Knight. Batman Begins. Ra's al Ghul, our favorite immortal from the Batman universe. The way that he's portrayed in Batman Begins, right? The immortality aspect of that character, it's a fabrication. It's a complete fiction, right? Because we learn during the course of the movie, right? Like Bruce Wayne thinks Ra's al Ghul died, right? Because he saw like the big Asian dude die, and then years later he's surprised. Hey, guess what? Ra's al Ghul is back at his party, but it's a different guy playing Ra's al Ghul. Because Liam Neeson is actually the puppet master in this, right? And they're using, they're making it seem like this guy lives on. It's really the idea of Ra's al Ghul lives on, and it's and it's also right, like that whole idea of creating a mythology to strike fear into the hearts of your enemies is the very thing that Batman tries to emulate in creating Batman, right? So he's like Liam Neeson comments on it in Batman Begins. He's like, you're kind of taking the theatrics to a new degree. Like this is a bit much, right? But like that's what Batman does in Batman Begins. He's like he's trying to create the idea of Batman as being something supernatural or super powerful, using the darkness to his advantage. When he's just a man.
Yeah.
He's just a man. And so again, it's that using the idea of fiction to create the reality that other people abide by. and that's what Ra's al Ghul is doing. And then you go into the Dark Knight, right? Harvey Dent commits some gruesome murders by the end of the movie, but what happens? Bruce Wayne takes the fall. Batman takes the fall for all those. He's like, I will be the foil in this so that Harvey Dent can be the symbol of hope for Gotham. And so he's like, yeah, let's pin it on Batman. And so that is the key lie in that movie where, okay, he's lying, but that lie is going to serve a purpose. It's actually going to help the citizens of Gotham grieve and get over it, and move towards the dawn in that movie.
I think the lie you could also argue in that one is that Batman sees himself as a good guy. And,
True. Yeah.
Right. And he does that by not killing somebody. Like, he has this rule. And the lie is that he absolutely has those compulsions, and the Joker is trying to bring it out of him.
That's an interesting take. I think he's definitely, yeah, there are definitely layers to the lies that he's telling himself, right? And then Lucius in that movie, right? He's, he has problems with what Batman is doing.
Yeah.
Clearly, right? He's like, Batman is crossing lines. So he, that's that memento thing, right? Like lying to yourself to justify your actions, which is also, a thing that comes up a lot in these movies. And then, so I think jumping ahead, right? So we talked about Inception, right? That's very, very obvious. The Prestige might be one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies ever, because it's very much about storytelling and lying.
No one remembers
Wes,
this movie.
do you remember The Prestige? You sort of remembered it.
I sort of remember it.
I know what happens in Prestige.
There's like it's a magic thing. They're doing magic, and there's two guys, and they're enemies or they're rivals. No, okay. And then at the end,
at the same time as The Illusionist.
Yeah, like, and so that made me confused too. Like, what was this movie about? But there's like a really dark twist at the end that I was like, I don't like that. So
one was a pair of twins who just had the most epic long con ever, and then Hugh Jackman was cheating because he had a magic Tesla machine that let him kind of cheat his magic because he was really just doing suicide cloning.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was doing, suicide clones. But like,
that's not magic. That's just
yeah, I mean,
I don't know what it is.
In the universe of that movie, that was like mad science, right? It was like Nikola Tesla that created that.
Is it like homicide, fratricide, suicide?
Yeah, all of the above, I think.
Yeah, it's just like
so like, yeah, it's about these magicians, right? Well, illusionists. They're illusionists. Even though the movie is not called The Illusionist. And it's about magic tricks, and it's, tricking people into what is true, right? And as you said, Christian Bale, who plays the twins, throughout the whole movie, you think it's just one person, and it's really a long con. It's a commitment to one of the biggest lies, is, that he is just one person. Like, even his wife doesn't know that he's one person. Right. And she's like, today you love me. Yesterday you didn't. Right. Tomorrow you're not going to love me. Right. It's because he's switching people each time.
Doesn't he even cut off a finger? Doesn't he doesn't one of them?
Yeah. Like one of them loses a finger, right, in a botched bullet catch trick. So it forces the brother to also cut off his finger so that it matches.
Damn.
That is how much commitment they have to this lie. And the thing about that lie, right, it allows them to pull off this miraculous stage trick, right? The transporting man, he goes into one box and he comes out another box, like from across the room, and people are aghast. They're like, how could he do that, right? And Hugh Jackman, his rival magician, right, is trying to figure out. He's trying to figure it out. How does this guy do this trick? So he approaches Nikola Tesla about doing basically using science, mad science, to transport a man from one body to another. And what ends up happening, he figures, like, Tesla has this thing, like, we actually don't transport you to another place. We transport a copy of you to another place while the original goes to someplace else that nobody sees, right? And so Hugh Jackman, who plays that magician, he starts doing his version of the transporting man, but ends up having to basically kill off his clones, right? Like it's it's a clone. Somebody goes into the box, they get transported, they the clone pops out somewhere else, and then somebody else has to die because there can't be two Hugh Jackmans running around.
Yeah, I thought it was like the original is the
It's
the
unclear.
One,
it's unclear who
Is
the
that
clone
left,
is.
It's left intentionally unclear of like whether
Yeah.
it's a cycle of a new one or it's just him been killing clons of himself. They don't make it clear.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
guess
like
the clone
Invincible.
That's like Invincible. They can't know, right? And so it's awful. And so he's hiding that by the end of the movie. But that's the whole thing. Like, he was so fooled by the lie that Christian Bale's character was telling that he had to go out and create a reality based on that fiction. And I think, to me, like, that's like the sort of one of the ultimate versions of this theme in Nolan's work. You have
He could have just created one clone, and then did the
no,
same
he
thing.
couldn't. He
No,
couldn't, because that's just how the science worked. That's how.
But
Tesla
once he
made
had
it.
one clone, then he could do the way that Christian Bale did it.
Then you'd have the clone running around, and like,
Yeah.
they're not brothers. They're not twins. They might not. They're probably like the dudes in Invincible. They want to kill each other rather than help each other.
Right.
clearly
So
will go
you got to have something over one of them. So but yeah. Basically, it's this idea that the stories that you consume, that you tell other people, and they consume it, and they start believing it, and it warps their reality so much so that the fiction becomes the truth, right?
You've
And so
committed to the bit.
really what I think Nolan is trying to do with storytelling, the reason why this theme pops up everywhere is because this is metafiction, right? Like, when we call something meta, usually we're talking about like, oh yeah, like a movie within a movie, or like a play within a play. This is metafiction, so it's like it's the fiction within the fictional universe, right? And he's commenting on storytelling overall, that stories, as fictitious as they could be, as mendacious as they could be, they do serve this important purpose. They are powerful. They affect how people see the world. They change truths. And we live in a world of fake news, right? And so we experience this on the daily now. And so it's those stories and how they're being told that shape the world around us. And I think that is a very powerful theme, and one to look out for when all y'all go and watch Oppenheimer after it wins the Oscar. Look out. There is deceit going on in Oppenheimer too. And you can see how it's utilized by the characters in that to shape their reality. And that's real
Oppenheimer
history.
too?
That's real history. Does it happen in Oppenheimer 2? Is that what you said?
No, you said Oppenheimer 2. I'm like, they got a sequel coming out? They got a part 2? We got more? No, I'm actually upset that you have pitched this pretentious madness to me. Because now...
You were intrigued.
Now I'm like, At first I was like, I'm going to just be a dumb-dumb. I'm like, shit. This,
I know, man. I know. This is some geek stuff.
Did he do Shutter Island? Was that him?
No. That was Scorsese.
Okay. Different, pretentious movie dude.
Yes. Also worth watching.
Dude.
Memento, it looks interesting.
I would start with Memento.
I've always known and heard that Inception was good. I'm just bad about watching certain movies. I've never heard bad things. I know I would like it.
I don't know that you would love Inception in the same way.
I think you'd appreciate it.
I think I'd appreciate. No, Inception didn't look to me as boring or bad. It was just like there's a lot of movies. Sorry, I haven't seen them all.
I mean, like, honestly, the other hallmark that we didn't talk about, which is that this dude makes action movies for the most part. Oppenheimer is the one exception.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like all these movies are really accessible. They're great popcorn watches, great Saturday night movies.
I'm gonna be the new
I highly
Highbrow
recommend
Brian.
all of them.
Oh, I'm about to be the new Highbrow Brian. Actually, I like
Get on my level.
I enjoy the use of 17mm film. It's a callback to a simpler time before CGI and green screens really dominated the film industry, and It's a good classic throwback. I highly recommend you watch.
You're not
Oh,
lying.
Chef's Kiss. I'm just throwing out words.
Yeah. Super 8. You got to fit Super 8 in there,
Yeah. Super 8. Cinematography.
Do you feel the same way? Do you feel the same way about like Tenet and Interstellar, that they fit into this narrative?
Yeah. So Interstellar, Michael Caine's character, who's coming up with ways to save the planet, or save humanity rather. He's saying, like, we got two plans. We got plan A, plan B. Plan A is that we figure out a way to get all of humans on Earth and move them to another planet. Plan B, we send some embryos of humans with some of these astronauts and they're going to create a new colony somewhere, right? Plan A is total BS. He goes decades not having a true plan A because it doesn't exist. He just uses it to give people hope. But his pupil, Jessica Chastain, did not know that he was lying about it, and she actually solves the problem. She solves the mathematical problem to make it work, and it becomes a reality in that movie.
Man, so the real moral is lie and commit to it. Like, just stick to that shit.
Yeah, that's what I do. I've been lying to myself for 40 years.
That's the lesson, folks. If you lying, double down, triple down, quadruple down.
Lying.
Never change.
Add some theatrics.
I don't know. Interstellar didn't do it for me. The fifth, once we got to the fifth dimension, that was just like, oh, you lost me.
Yeah, I don't love the fifth dimension thing. And like love, it's love.
Well, that's the key. Yeah, that's the key to the whole movie. And so like, I was just like,
But I still think it's a great watch.
Up to that point, I was really into it.
There's very few other things around that are like that movie, so I think it's great.
All right, stop putting some of your uppity, boring art house ass films into the.
They're not art house.
These are blockbuster movies, man.
I know,
totally accessible.
They're just too much talking.
I know, but y'all know I just be saying dumb shit sometimes. Like,
they
I gotta
just need to
ham it
talk
up.
less. Show more, talk less. That's all.
No, I like the talking. Just I don't know.
Nah.
I think just for movies, I'm in a big dark room. I want action.
Like,
but
if you go back,
I can see enjoying this at home on my couch.
If you go back and watch The Dark Knight, the Joker talks too much. Stop talking.
Oh, but his dialogue is always good, though.
It's so good.
He's
but
never talking emptily.
Joker's only good when he is talking because he's a boring character otherwise. Otherwise, he's just
he doesn't have any abilities. He's an agent of chaos in that movie, and every time he opens his mouth, it's he's creating havoc. I think that's interesting.
No, I love that. He just could have done it with fewer words. That's all.
We're not doing no. We're not. Look, we're not taking the.
You know who could use fewer words right now?
Hey,
Wes.
I'm the host of this show.
Wes.
All right, friends. Christopher Nolan, what do you think? Is he the real deal? Are you bought into Brian's highbrow, Hi Brian segment that Christopher Nolan incorporates the lie that affects the actions that lead to actual truth? Or is it all just a shamboozle?
Or is that all a lie?
Maybe I've been lying to you this whole time. This isn't even a podcast you're listening to. You're asleep.
The lie was a lie.
Have a good one. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, or maybe in a week. I believe we're going to try to check out Dune. I don't know if we're going to be able to get in Dune before we record again, but
I got my tickets already.
That would be nice. Dune Part 2.
If I can see it today and I get to this theater on time, that'll put me in a perfect position to see Dune 2 like another week or two. So
true. All right, friends.
Let's do it.
We're out of here. Go check out Dune. It's gonna be the business. But Brian said we're gonna have another cliffhanger, which I'm not excited about.
I bet.
All right, friends. Have a good one. See you later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.